You are living in the most dangerous time in American history.
We won't take a single back step.
Former professional basketball player is now the Republican Party's choice.
Can you imagine Royce White, the U.S. Senate?
White won the endorsement on May 18th with 67% of the vote.
There's nothing that guarantees we win, but I guarantee you if we lose, we will die. Welcome back to another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, brought to you by Free People Radio, powered by our favorite sponsor, TireGet.com. That's TireGet.com. You have to buy tires from somebody. You might as well buy them from us. Help fund the movement, help support the movement. We believe in the freedom of movement, and that's exactly what the establishment wanted to take from you a couple weeks back, about a month ago. I'm your host, Royce White, here in the belly of the beast, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this is episode 228, I believe. Today we have another HEBROES edition. The great Professor Penn is in the studio with us today. Been a long time. Welcome back, Professor Penn.
Good evening to you. It's good to be here. You know, I love this when we don't get a chance to talk because we're so busy.
Yeah.
We get to square off like this. I always wonder what's new. What's new?
Well, I say I shouldn't have corrected myself. The establishment still wants to take your freedom of movement. It's just they've probably had to pivot a bit from their previous plans.
Previous plans was when you talk about freedom of movement, there's lots of different kinds of movement. There's intellectual movement. You know, we're in an intellectual movement. It's a philosophical, political, intellectual movement.
Right.
And there's emotional movement. There's actually getting in a car and going someplace. The thing that they were really focused on.
Getting in the car and going someplace?
No, they wanted to take that freedom of speech.
Oh, yeah.
They were coming right after that.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Well, on the Professor Penn podcast, I played clips of Hillary Clinton saying, got to get it. John Kerry saying, we just can't get consensus anymore. I mean, people just have so many sources for their news. And they were in the process of labeling what you're doing, what I'm doing.
Terrorism.
They're ultimately, yes, but first it's misinformation and malinformation.
Public safety.
Well, then you have a war, and then
Right.
they, invoke the Espionage Act of 1917, and that's the end of podcasting. There's only one official narrative because we're at war. And how strange it is that in a lame duck administration, I've been around for a while. I don't ever remember anything happening during lame duck administrations. That's why they call them lame ducks. Nothing happens. Fight's over, everybody goes home, parties for the holidays, and nothing goes on. These people, talk about some skullduggerous demagogues. Take me, not us, me. This is personal because this is my ass. They take me to the brink of thermonuclear war in a lame duck administration when the people voted for peace. There are videos of President Trump saying, if you vote for Harris, you vote for war, you vote for me, you vote for peace. I'll solve the Ukraine problem before I'm elected, which is brave because the Logan Act, he's basically saying, hey, can't put me in jail. Actually, he proved they can't put him in jail.
Well, he hasn't proved it completely yet, but things are looking up.
They sure are.
Victory begets victory. Winning surely helps him.
Strength to strength.
Yeah, but I still think they were trying to take the actual freedom of movement in terms of getting in your car and going some places, and the way that they're doing that is through technological advancement. And that is still the scariest thing on the horizon. There's nothing more dangerous in front of mankind. I mean, the argument we were having before about all these cultural wedge issues were almost so absurd.
They're a diversion.
It had to be. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Like Tim Gordon, he put out a great, there's a documentary that he worked on. He's an executive producer, What a Woman Is. And I reposted the 11-minute trailer, and it talks about the color revolution and how the LGBTQ, or more specifically the transgender phenomenon, cultural phenomenon, is really not the LGBTQ movement. It's the product of feminism, and that the feminist movement in and of itself is the ambition of of the color revolution, minds that are trying to push it. And I just mentioned it because during the trailer, when you lay out how absurd this color revolution really is, and it is absurd on a sort of fundamental level, a logical biological standard, it's really absurd. It becomes clear that the real danger is technology and the advancement of technology. Now we're going to have a simmering out of the cultural Marxism.
We hope so.
Well, it naturally is going to fizzle because, uh, well, two reasons in my opinion. One is, like I was saying before the election, it's hard to play cultural revolutionary when you have all of the levers of power. Well, a lot of the remnant of the levers of power they just had are going to remain in perpetuity for a stretch of time where it's going to be hard to still call down on that cultural revolutionary Marxist position, right? We're oppressed. Wait a second, you guys just got out of power. In fact, all of the celebrities that you enlisted, all the corporations you enlisted to help you get over the hump are still there with the same war chest and purse strings that they had right before you lost the election. I mean, Hoffman and all these people, these people didn't become broke overnight because Donald Trump won, right? I mean, so there's still a lot of power there for them to have to hide, kind of, obfuscate, kind of twist and weave, manipulate the narrative. They can't play genuine cultural revolutionary yet, right? Nothing like a good crisis event to give you the ability to do that, right? Like a black man gets shot unarmed by a white cop. Boom, you got the perfect circumstance to really play the oppressed again. Or maybe this time it's a liberal white woman, right, with purple hair, and she identifies as a pixie, and then all of a sudden now the police are targeting the LGBTQ. The point is, the cultural wedge issues we were fighting before were so clearly a diversion when juxtaposed to technology and the advancement of technology. And the advancement of technology is really to take people's freedom of movement. It's to slowly and surely push people into a smaller corridor of everyday life, a smaller footprint where they can be controlled.
We
Right.
talked about it. I mean, I know we talked about that clip on YouTube.
Herman Kahn.
Herman Kahn from the Hudson Institute. I mean, it was he actually said, I mean, he had the stones to say, oh, let's talk about the Black Panthers. They're really throwing sand in the gears. I mean, he was just like really honest about it. Kind of like Lindsey Graham going on Hannity last week and saying, hey, this war is about money. Every once in a while you get they get so comfortable being who they are, they just forget that we're starting to pay attention. When you talk about this cultural narrative or this identity politics thing fizzling out, it's because it was always a scam. And
Right.
every scam works on the marks until the marks wake up. And then when the marks wake up, the confidence men, they have to run away because the scam's over. I don't think we're quite there yet. We were talking before we came on air, right, about the postmortems of the Democrat Party. And the original postmortems were all about how horrible half the country was. Right. I mean, these people weren't really ready to look in the mirror. And I think a lot of them are not ready yet. But it's a long time until 2026. And I think what they're going to do is recognize they've lost the narrative with their core constituency, which is working class Americans. That was the Democrat Party. No, you don't think so?
No. Nope, I don't think so.
You don't think they're going to do that?
No, I don't.
Well, then they're going to be they're going to be destined to the dustbin of history.
I don't think so.
Well, go ahead. What do you think?
I think something strange is going on in the American political spirit. I mean, I think there's a genuine sort of hard to describe push and pull right there in the middle for the on the fence, what they call the moderate voter, the independent, the sort of there's a genuine push and pull that has now extended to further extremes of the political spectrum, as to where the push and pull were about small issues, small variations on small issues, or let's say small variations on big issues. Now it's become big variations on big issues. And I think Yeah, the battle is between the propaganda, obviously the establishment maintaining a coherent narrative that's accepted and tolerated, and then the juxtaposition is all of this conspiracy theory. And the real fight is going to be how much information can be proliferated that substantiates what people used to think as conspiracy theory. And then you have how much of that are people willing to actually take in, are willing to digest
How
because of.
much people are willing to study what's going on?
Well, I don't even think it's about studying it. I think it's how much they're willing to digest. Because there is a sort of, the brilliance of the Marxism and the communists and the totalitarian control of information isn't the lie. The brilliance is that there's a built-in defense mechanism in the human psyche that allows the lie to exist and to live on for our own sanity.
Which is really what it is when you say that, the lie that it's science.
Right.
That is it.
And that's why I'm saying.
Let's get right down to it. Okay. So
that's why I'm saying I don't think it's going to be.
Because you'd have to give up all your shiny baubles and that I've been thinking this interesting. I don't know how we do this, and people are going to say we actually are acting like we're not talking. We're actually talking, but I've been thinking about this very same issue. That the issue really is
technology
and financialization. That we've become so far removed from the natural way, and we don't want to go back to a more kind of human. That's the fear. That's what you're saying. That the American citizens may choose not to move back into a more self-governing, more humble. And it's expressed in all kinds of different strange, kind of twisted ways, as you were saying. Like, for example, the amount of support that's out there for this escalation to thermonuclear threat, the threat of it's not that great. I put a post into a very leftist thread, and I had a few people that said things to me back that I can't repeat. But the majority was 10-1 of the people saying, thank you for saying this. One person even said, we're in this spot because we vote blue no matter what.
Well, but wait a second. What about Zero Hedge putting out the poll that said 62% of Americans are in favor of the Ukraine war?
They're in favor of the war. I said thermonuclear war.
Yeah, but see, that's my point. I mean, that proves the point right there.
Okay, go ahead.
Is if you honestly, I mean, we can be candid now because the election's over. We won. Now getting him to the inauguration, I still think is a
praise God forevermore for
hurdle.
Getting President Trump. Thank you for inaugurating President Trump.
It's a hurdle still, but the point of the matter is, if anybody believes that Donald Trump won because a good portion, a big portion, a majority of the American people actually understand what is at stake, then I'm calling bullshit. I'm saying no. I'm saying, a lot of people could see again, when Kamala Harris brings Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, if we were going to give our country to Meg Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Whoopi Goldberg, and Oprah, then we deserve to be fried in a nuclear holocaust. Honestly, that's my honest opinion. It may seem harsh to some people, but if you give your country over to Cardi B and Oprah, you deserve to be killed in a nuclear holocaust. That's just my opinion. I'm sorry. That's just how I'm serious. That's just.
You may be serious, but it's still funny.
I mean, that's just. To me, you give a kid a gun, it's like giving a kid a gun. You don't know what's going to happen, but you know it's going to make the papers, right? That's how obvious of a bad idea that is. So it was easy to juxtapose Donald Trump, this sort of very sane, logical, wait a second, guys, we've gotten too far out over our skis, so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean that the people understand the issues. They don't understand the fundamentals. And the Ukraine war, yet again, all the way back to my endorsement at the convention in May, the Ukraine war is the sort of litmus test to feel and see where the American people are on the fundamental. If 62% of people still support the war with Ukraine, then they don't realize that it's an obvious and probably very, very near predicate for thermonuclear war. And the fact that people don't get that, it really it signals the crisis of our political culture.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you. I think I mentioned on someplace I did it, but I was alive during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the entire country was galvanized out of a kind of sense of terror. Everyone was glued to the television set. It was the only thing people were thinking about. And this crisis it dwarfs that one in severity, and everybody's just going along. People aren't even talking about it, which I find, maybe there's a unhealthy belief that President Trump's going to roll in and solve this problem. And I do believe it's manageable because Putin is, but as you said, he's not president yet.
Well, and even furthermore, Vladimir Putin's position isn't so secure either. Let's be clear there. I mean, if I'm them, if I'm the globalist regime, Donald Trump's going to be much harder to kill now going forward than Vladimir Putin would be. So
that's an interesting comment.
My strategy would now be to try and swing to the other side of the fence and see if you could get Putin out of there
and elicit the hardliners.
And see if we could, so
there's a lot of things that can happen, a lot of variables.
But my main point is, when you talk about the Democrats and them losing their core constituency, I don't think they've lost them at all. I think they got so crazy that the outer fringe of, the sort of margin, that we were able to win on the margins. But it still was on the margins, which is the greatest indictment of the American public.
Oh, well, what you're saying is how can it even be close?
Honestly. Seriously.
I know, I agree with you. But I'm going to tell you, when I posted up this thing, I think I said, there's different perspectives on how this war started.
Yeah.
But on who and how this is being escalated is evidently very clear. And I put that in a very leftist, place.
Right.
And I had, like I said, I had 2 or 3 people really get rude with me. But I had dozens of people that thanked me for saying it.
But look, I can't tell you how widespread. Again, you can't take the win in the presidential election as a clear-cut diagnostic of the American public. It was enough to win, but 75 to 72 million votes in the popular, it's a 50-50. It's about a 3 million person spread in a country of, it's a couple percent. I mean, and the point is, how have we gotten here? How have we gotten to the place where your average Democrat, hardline Democrat, sort of in between that progressive, far leftist progressive and sort of what they would call moderate, middle of the road liberal, how has it come to be that their entire political identity is, the Gaza flag, the Palestinian flag, the Ukrainian flag, the LGBTQ flag, the trans flag, the black flag with the pirate hat, that kind of signals the hammer and sickle. I mean, how have we come to this place where, and it's not just a few bots or an echo chamber on X. It was reflected through the entire mainstream media. So where they've really, where they have a genuine opportunity, and I don't mean to help them map a strategy to course correct, but where they actually do have a chance to win, and what we have to be cautious of is they try to play the same thing the neocons try to play, just on the other side. They're sort of mainstream country club, silk stocking, silk tie, lapel pin Republican character on their side was, I'm a Marxist revolutionary, but I'm still in with the Apples and the Googles and the Goldman Sachs and the Pfizers and so on and so forth. And as long as they play like they're advocates for the oppressed, then we all can kind of cosplay the idea of revolutionary versus actually having to revolt. See, it's dumb to have a revolt. It's a fugazi to have a revolt when the institutions that preside over you are the beneficiaries of the system, the status quo, which is why and this is what I learned when I was out there. People don't understand how important it was to be out there when the George Floyd thing happened, because what I saw immediately was none of these people actually want to revolt. This is all a sort of drama. It's a theater. It's intended to sway consensus about political issues. It's so, and this is what gets me about the people on the right, the conservatives, even in the Maga movement, these people want to tear the country down. No, they didn't. They wanted to burn it just enough to sway the broader public who's not paying close enough attention. It was all the most high-level political drama.
And they succeeded.
And they succeeded.
In that cycle.
In that cycle, they succeeded. And they'll do it again. But my point is, none of it was to actually revolt and tear the thing down.
How can you revolt when you're in control?
That's my point.
Right, I agree with you.
But here's the deal. There is a level they could go to now where the institutions themselves abandon that sort of the desire to have institutional stability and go, let's actually go for revolution. And we'll concede for a moment. We'll concede institutional stability in pursuit of now overthrowing.
So what you're saying is the left will use Donald Trump's focus on changing the bureaucracy and fixing the institutions to actually let the institutions melt down.
Right.
Because they're going to, what you say, because it sounds to me like they're going, I don't think they're this smart.
Okay. Good.
I don't.
Well,
but
let me put that out there just in case they are.
Well, no, this is a very,
because that's what I would do.
But this is a very athletic kind of analysis. Like, what's your opponent's getting ready to do, so you're going to use his energy against it. Oh, Donald Trump, you want to change the bureaucracy? You want to change these institutions? You want to close it? Hey, we're all with you. Let's burn it down now and see what happens. That's a next level.
Well,
they're not that smart.
But the danger in it is there is a place in here where the MAGA movement, where our side of the football is not so ready to abandon that institutional stability ourselves. And that is where the next fight's going to happen. Where you were saying before the podcast started that we can see this new uniparty emerging, but it's going to coalesce around more America First ideas. Don't be thinking that those America First ideas can't take on the same kind of political drama and cosplay that the left used in 2020.
Well, that will be the goal of the
establishment.
Of the
coalesce that new narrative, that new center.
The cultural creators.
Right.
Because what they want to drag into that.
But again, so I'll give you an example. Here's a great barometer. Why is it even a discussion whether the Fed will exist or not? It shouldn't even be a discussion. It needs to go. Everybody knows it. Anybody who's America First or MAGA knows it. Now, will Donald Trump do it? And I said this on my interview I did the other day with that young gentleman, that gentleman from here in Minnesota. He had the show, The American Tribune. I said that in his heart, Donald Trump is a peacemaker. And the difference between him and I is I'm a door kicker. And God does it on purpose and times it right for a reason.
That's a yin and a yang. That's how you get change.
Well, but my point is that that's exactly what we needed, because there is a boomer constituency out there. There is a kind of more American traditional constituency out there that remembers a time where things were better and Kennedy was in office. And, there is a constituency in there that lost their mind for a moment with the woke woo-woo, which is easy to do. I mean, I've been there myself. You look up, you're in the NBA, every single corporation makes these players talk the same, act the same, walk the same. Now they all dress like,
Scottish Highlanders.
Yeah, the same. And so I get it. I get how powerful the thing is. But my point is, Donald Trump, in my opinion, will make a grave, grave error if he thinks that he can save the globalist framework with an America hegemony.
Well, we've had this conversation too. And I find myself getting within my own political orbit here in the Minnesota Republican Party. I've become quite strident because this is my fear also, that we redux Pax Americana right in the middle of the creation of a multipolar world. Because, this is an interesting thing from a kind of a label. We call the Russians savages. Like if you're on X, do you see that on X where the pro-Ukraine people will call the Russians savages? Is that a reasonable thing to say?
No, I don't see that.
You don't see that?
No, because I don't look.
I look.
I don't even look if I see a pro-Ukraine, if I see a Ukraine flag in a person's name or bio, I call them a cuck and I move on.
But what they're saying is, because I'm interested in what's going on, because I'm from the Ukraine. So they're saying that the Russians are savages, subhuman. That's what the implication is. They've got nasty names for them. Okay, so they've objectified the Russians as being, with all the great Russian literature and Russian symphonies and, the Russian, zeitgeist, art, everything. They're just savages. Okay, fine. But, when you're a decadent, like we are here, we're a very decadent society. Decadent people, generally speaking, are not, this goes into the door kicker thing. Decadent people are not generally willing to die for something because they're decadent. The most important thing to them is their own existence. And they're saying these Russians are savages. I think we need to pay attention because a savage will die for what they believe in. So we got decadence versus savages.
It's the same thing they're saying about the rise of Islamic terrorism or Islamic extremism.
Well, my point in saying this
right?
is...
I mean, that is the same motif.
Well, right. Okay, but...
These people are crazy because they're willing to die for what they believe in.
Okay, so, but...
Which I would agree with in that case, but lo and behold, even if you say, hey, this person from Yemen who was, recruited or drafted into some weird Al-Qaeda, ISIS network is completely crazy because they're willing to die for Allah or scripture. Fine. If you don't believe in Allah or the Quran, I get what you're saying, and I don't myself, so I would agree. But it's still an indictment of us that we don't really have anything we're willing to die for. And at current, the thing we seem most willing to die for is our belief in corruption, corrupt institutions, corrupt ideology. So it doesn't,
well, they're willing to send somebody else to die for them. Okay,
and that's even worse.
I mean,
right?
really, that's how corrupt
worse.
it is.
Yes.
But this goes into the idea of that technology.
Yeah,
that is the corrupting and the decadence. The ease or the creation of artificiality. That is kind of the core weakness, and that's a worldwide weakness. I mean, the people that don't have it are aspiring to get it. Everybody wants in on the material benefits of the scientific method without looking at what the costs are. And I see it both in this conversation about the Ukraine, from my age group, the boomers, where I find the greatest number of people that will call me really nasty things. Like one guy called me a Nazi because I'm pro-peace, anti-nuclear war. I'm a Nazi. I thought to myself, I'm a Nazi. Wow.
Well, I mean, these people, we're all using different terms now just to circle the wagons.
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't even make any difference.
But my point is that you see it in the dialogue amongst the boomers relative to this war, because so many of them, we're both using this word gum dip now. They're so gum dipped in Pax Americana and the U.S. military and the goodness of America.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what. But the other issue where it gets weird is when we start talking about Kennedy and all these people that are coming in and the dialogue around, vaccines and healthcare. And I read this thing and I go, whoa, you guys are all about benefits, but you don't realize every benefit has a cost. And that's what we've done in this country. We have taken so much benefit from this post-World War II Democrat liberal order, which the tripod, is the scientific method and, democracy and equity. That's the tripod it stands on. You say, where does it come from? The Atlantic Charter. Right. Self-determination of all people.
Right.
You want to wear a dress? Go for it. So it really, but my point in saying...
There's nothing wrong with wearing a dress.
It's weaponizing it into a political
There's nothing
movement.
wrong with wearing a dress. If if you and Bob and the boys, like to go
You're
out,
an American citizen after
go out
all.
on the weekend, and shave your whole body and throw on a cocktail dress and some fishnet stockings and I don't know, go cruise around in your Prius and slap each other or club each other. That's what you want to do.
You're free to do it.
The question is, do we have to die in a nuclear holocaust for it?
That,
I mean,
in
that's
fact, is the point.
That's the indictment of it.
That's the point.
When you look at the ideology, you think to yourself, how do I start to measure? Like, even if you're a secular humanist, like, let's say you're one of these scientific method acolytes, zealots, and you don't believe in God.
Scientific atheist.
You don't believe in any type of moral, moral
absolutism.
And I think to myself, how do I start to measure if an ideology is good or bad? Like, well, okay, if I left all of the institutions to the people who espouse this ideology, what would be the predictable outcome? Well, the predictable outcome is for these individuals, their sexual identity and their sexual preferences are more important than everybody and everything else, and it is a symptom of the feminist ideology. And that sort of
Can you say that one more time, please?
what?
Just what you said about the feminist ideology. There was a preamble to that. You said
Yeah,
that
their sexual identity and sexual preference is more important than anybody and everything else. And that is
Oh, and you're saying that's carrying out through this whole gender identity issue.
it's completely
that's-
it's completely rooted in the feminist ideology, and I can see it's one of the most daunting things I've ever encountered in my life, like from an intellectual standpoint, and it on face value you kind of want to you check yourself and you think, well, wait a second, I'm a man, so I mean, I'm biased on the deal, but honestly, I don't think I've come across anything more obvious, more blatant, more visibly kind of viscerally corrupt than the double standard that exists between men and women, and how eventually that double standard will destroy Western society, and it will allow our enemies to prevail over us. And then when you look at all of our enemies, if you want to just extrapolate that the people they say are our mortal enemies are our mortal enemies, China, Russia, Iran, or whatever combination of the Arab and Muslim world that is hostile to the West. None of them have a feminist matriarchal culture, even in China. Now, China's men, don't get me wrong. I know that China's population has a very, let's say, prominent or dominant role culturally for their women. I mean, their women do have a man by the gonads kind of
They're
culture.
in short supply.
But the reality is, what Xi has done is he's reoriented the
He's trying to.
the threshold.
He's trying.
There's a threshold in there.
Yeah.
Even if culturally in the substrate, there's that
He's just ended the spread of
Yes.
that identity politics.
Yes.
He's keeping it
yeah,
right.
he's keeping a check
Keeping it
on
at
it.
home. He's keeping it.
There's enough for people to stay distracted in China, but when the real decisions get made, none of that stuff's coming to bear. This is straight up natural law, kind of a Darwinian.
We're first and you're not.
Right. And so Russia, they don't have this problem in Russia. And so far as culture goes, I mean,
Certainly not in Iran either.
well, definitely not in Iran.
So that's
And
an
that's why
interesting-
we're really afraid of the Muslim
that's-
world. Well, wait a
that-
second. Let me. This is why the West,
When you say we, who you mean we?
the West,
Okay, great.
which I don't think exists anymore. I don't even like when people use the phrase. I'm done with it. There is no more West. There's America, and there's whatever we rebuild in the Western Hemisphere.
As quick as we can.
And there's the European Union, and whatever they decide their self-determined future is going to be has nothing to do with us. We need to abandon posts. I had somebody tell me online, well, because I made an argument. I said, in terms of Russia, I don't have to wait for somebody to start to shoot me or to fire in order for me to defend myself. That's not an American ideal. Well, somebody goes, if that's the case, then why would we demilitarize in Europe? Because then we would be waiting for the Russians to shoot at us. No. No, I didn't say we have to put all of our guards down for America. What I said is that Europe, in Europe's interest,
You're on your own.
geographically, politically,
Yeah.
should be their own self-determined interest. Now, we could be right there in the Atlantic Ocean, and if the argument is, and let's just go to this level. If the argument is that Russia's so dangerous, China's so dangerous, North Korea, Iran, and North Korea doesn't have that cuck feminist, cultural problem either. If those four countries are so dangerous that we have to maintain a geographical footprint
A check on them.
in the area,
Yeah.
then all you motherfuckers are America now, and we're not going to play games about that. You're not Lithuania. You're not Moldova. You're not Romania. You're all the United States of America. Okay, and that you're just a.
That's kind of the ultimate British business model. of
Well,
slavery,
I'm
drugs,
just
and
saying. I'm
piracy.
just saying. I don't like all of the sort of geopolitical shell game that happens. It's like, oh well, we're a sovereign state. It's no, you're not. You're not a sovereign state unless you're by the Atlantic Charter's own standards, by the United Nations' own standard. This is what Gaddafi stood up and said, and this is why they killed him. You know, it wasn't about him being a terrorist. It wasn't about him using white phosphorus on his own people. It wasn't about, Hillary Clinton's. No, they killed him because he stood up and said the quiet part out loud. None of you people in the General Assembly are really sovereign nations. You're living under the United Nations Security Council. And whatever they decide to do.
The Insecurity Council,
whatever they decide to do, you go along with because you're scared and you think that that's self-determination. No, you're just a punk. You're getting bullied. And we really are. And my point is, okay, if a bully's going to run the playground, then the whole playground is mine, motherfucker. We're not going to play around about it. We're not going to say, oh, well, it's just, it's a game. And
it's a con.
I bring that up to make the point. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. I mean, absolutely blows my mind that we have allowed this double standard between men and women to proliferate to the place that it is. And it's so obvious.
When you say double standard, what do you mean double standard? Specifically.
The double standard is that women are allowed to resort to any means whatsoever to achieve whatever goals they have. I mean, whatever. There's no real scope on it. It's just it is a free for all for women. I mean, from a cultural expectation standard, our cultural expectations and standards for women are we anticipate and then we accept that women will do whatever they want in the pursuit of their own devices and goals, and that's not to be challenged. For example, I mean, look at what's happening to Pete Hegseth. Same thing that happened to Donald Trump. Same thing they tried to run on me. Same thing this has become a perpetual, a sort of revolving door to attack any men who have any chance whatsoever of changing the status quo or upholding some moral code or sacred honor to keep the country together. I mean, it is the perfect revolving door. And my point in what I was saying earlier is the core constituency of the Democrats aren't the working class. It's not. That's a lie. I mean, that's Carville and all these that's all of these experts, these political pundits and experts giving MAGA the runaround and trying to get us to pin down some target that doesn't really exist. The core constituency of the Democrat Party
is, drum roll,
American cuckery.
Okay, great.
Women and the men that women have seduced and manipulated into following whatever it is that they say that they should follow. That is the cultural, that is the real color revolution. That is the feminist ideology empowering the LGBTQ to change what the cultural norms are while simultaneously forcing men who are still heterosexual to bend to whatever the whims, the ill-begotten and kind of illogical whims of women are. That's what we're facing. And the real danger of that is in order for America to overcome it, men are going to actually have to stand up and say the quiet part out loud. The quiet part out loud is you women are losing it. You've lost. No, it's not you're losing it. You've lost it. They were willing to take us to a nuclear war just for their own self gratification to say that they're not racist by electing a black woman. They were willing to go to full-blown, and they still are. That constituency's still there.
Oh, yes.
There's just a small number of men on the margins that didn't let it happen. Young men and working class men, and there was enough of them. There's about 0.5%, enough of them.
Yeah, but it's going to grow.
We'll see. But
we're going to grow it. No,
wait a second.
We're growing it.
Wait a second.
We're growing it.
But wait a second. No. I'm not going to play this game either. It's not going to grow unless.
Unless what?
Unless people actually go to the places where we need to go in order to grow it. See, in the mistake.
Well, we're committed to that.
But wait a minute. The mistake that we're going to make. Yeah, we are. We are.
I don't care about anybody else.
Yeah, but the point is, it's going to take everybody in order to do it.
Well, they'll show up
because they have everybody lined up. All of their resources are marshaled up to the front line.
Right, they're getting ready to go back out.
They're already out. It's it. When they commissioned Nick Fuentes to say, it's your body, my choice, B word. They're already playing it. It's on. They're not. They didn't stop. They don't stop. This is 24/7,
We don't stop
365.
either. We're
No,
not
we
stopping.
do.
I
We do.
didn't.
No, we do as a movement.
Yeah,
We do as a country.
That's why we need new leadership.
That's absolutely right.
We need people
and
that don't stop.
Another great example.
Which is
again,
right here in Minnesota
is
also.
right here in Minnesota.
They're up. See,
Yeah.
people are going to think we script this stuff out. We
It's
didn't
right
script
here.
nothing.
It's right here.
State Central Committee is coming.
Well, I'm not even gonna go there yet.
Oh,
but
that's part of leadership.
for
That's
sure.
part of leadership.
For sure.
Fund.
But I'm not even going there. What I'm saying is, if Minnesota is a good indicator of where the American political culture and zeitgeist really is, one of a couple things happened in my race. Either one, people still believe the mainstream media who voted for Donald Trump but didn't vote for me. Number two, there were some Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis people out there all across the state, or maybe they were Emmer, Fishbach people, whoever. There were some middle kind of on the fence Republicans who were willing to vote for Donald Trump because they didn't like Kamala Harris, but they didn't want any real bona fide MAGA senators in the thing.
Oh, for sure. That's
or we're still just dealing with flat out plain cultural divide and racism.
No.
No?
It's in our party.
No.
It's in our it's the Republicans in our party.
I can't tell you how many. I can't tell you.
Republicans in our party.
It ain't even the party. It's not even the party.
The Republicans that
It's
would
not even the party. I'm talking about Republican voters
right.
Republican voters who still have such an affection for the World War II story. They were told
that's right. But
that when a young black man tells them it was a fucking lie, they're so offended.
Yeah, they're very offended.
They would rather go to nuclear war.
You know, that's correct.
Right.
But when I say the party,
and what's crazy to me about
when
it
I
is
say
this.
the party, the
Yeah.
leadership of the party,
Yeah, but the
leadership is still leadership, and that's what they
Yeah.
believe.
Well,
That's what they
no,
believe.
they know better.
But they fence it.
That's right. That's 100%. They
And I
fence
don't
it.
think
They know better though.
Not all of them.
Shitting me. David Hahn, he knows better.
Knows better what?
He knows what I said about World War II was spot on.
No, I don't think so.
No, he does know. He can say what he wants.
What evidence do you have that he gets it, but is hiding it from everybody?
Because
if you really got that, what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying is the lust for power
it's so
is
great,
so
they'll
great.
They'll lie.
Oh, that's awful.
But
I thought they were stupid.
No, I'm not. I've been telling people from the beginning, stop thinking these people are stupid and they don't get it. And that's another danger that
No,
we.
I'm not so sure. The boomers.
That's
the
another
boomer generation.
Yeah, I know
my generation.
Stop.
No.
Stop.
No.
Stop.
No.
I'm not buying it.
You better buy it.
I'm not buying it.
You're
There's
too
nothing.
young.
There's nothing you can say to me that's going to make me buy
You
it.
think that the
I'm not
people of my
fucking buying
generation-
it. Your
the
generation knows they were fucking lied to.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, they do.
No, they
yes, they
don't.
do. They liked it. They liked the
MAGA
fucking
crowd
lie.
does.
No, your generation, the crowd, they all know they were lied to. They're full of shit.
Then
They're full
what
of
you're
shit.
saying is people are living a
Yes,
lie
I am saying
to get
that.
the benefit of.
That's exactly.
Well, you
why
know,
would that shock us?
Well, I have to tell you.
Why would it
Can I
shock
tell
us
you a
that
story?
people are?
Can I
Wait a
tell you a
second.
story? Can I
Why
tell
are
you a story?
people? Why would it shock us that people are self-deceptive for their own gain?
Can I tell you a story?
What evidence of American history or
Can
human?
I tell you a story?
What evidence of American history or human history would it leave us shocked that some people would present themselves in a way that's self-deceptive, that's deceptive and self-deceptive for their own gain? All the evidence is to the contrary.
Well, that's very un-American.
All the even the evidence of American history is to the contrary. It's
Right.
not un-American. Actually,
No,
it's an American way.
It's anti-republicanism.
There you go. But it's a very American it's a very American epithet. Self-deception, deception and self-deception for our own gain. It's a very American kind of thing.
Maybe it's a human thing.
Absolutely, but yes, absolutely.
Human. I don't want to even hang that on America.
Yeah, but see, that's my
That's a
point. The
human
point is, when the MAGA movement and the America First movement really gets into a
jam.
a charted course, a sort of lane where we could actually change this thing for good, we'll have to confront that. We'll have to actually confront that that part of the human condition. I'm not so sure we're willing to do it. Like for example, we want to lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that American literature is better than Russian literature. I mean, even that's a sort of profound and gross misread of history and self-deception. I mean, you Americans out there have lost your fucking minds if you think Charles Dickens can hold a candlestick to Leo Tolstoy. You're fucking delusional. And I love America as much as the next person. And what you would want, if you're really American at heart and in your spirit, and you really believe in genuine competition over the course of time, what you would want is a writer as profound as Leo Tolstoy to emerge and to have his work be brought to the public and then last throughout time so he could be compared in that way. But we don't have that. We do not have an identity.
We don't have a composer like Shostakovich or Tchaikovsky either.
Well, in the West, you have some that are
but in
relatively.
America, I'm talking about
in America,
America.
you're right. But in the West, you have some. But my point is, Leo Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, even what was my guy's name? The Gulag Archipelago.
Solzhenitsyn.
I mean, these people were hitters.
Same thing goes for ballet. Baryshnikov. They don't have that either.
And I only bring that up not to like fanboy the Russians, although I do think that War and Peace is the best novel ever written. I mean, if you disagree, please. I mean, in the comments, drop the one that you think is the best. But I mean, it's long been agreed upon, sort of a conventional wisdom, that Leo Tolstoy is the greatest writer of all time by most people's standard. That War and Peace is probably one of the greatest literary works of all time. So I'm not doing this to fanboy. Well, what I am saying is there's a reason why the greatest writers of all time, or those who are considered to be the greatest writers of all time, are Russian men. And we have a culture here in America where we want to sort of artificially, superficially impose women into a place that they have not earned. But we want to go to war with a culture that's not going to play in fantasy land. So you can't have it both ways. If you want to superimpose women onto some pedestal, I'm not even saying we can't do it. You just can't go to war with real motherfuckers. Right? You want to avoid.
That's what I just said. Decadence and savages.
Yeah, you want to avoid
savages.
war with the real motherfuckers at all costs, because you know that when push comes to shove, they'll pull your coattail. They'll call your bluff, and you'll be left.
They're calling the bluff right now.
They've been calling it since the day that Joe Biden said we're going to pull the Russians off the SWIFT system, and they won't be able to finance any of this shit.
And that didn't work, did it?
Of course not. They got four totalitarian nations.
All working together
with enough resources, enough natural resources, and enough human capital, and enough culture, enough national identity to die for it. So again, and I'm not saying we can't beat them. I mean, let's just talk for real. I mean, are we really going to follow these women into a war with this four-headed hydra, with this monster? And again,
when you say follow these women, I think everybody really, I don't want to say you're out in front of the pack here, but what you're saying is that the post-World War II Democrat liberal order.
And it's the boomer men who want to get laid. That's what I'm saying. It's and let me be very clear. I'm going to help you. You Minnesota Republican Party delegates. It's you boomer men in the Republican Party who have been married for 20 years, and you've hung your American Christian hat on that because I'm a good moral Christian. Right? I'm married. I have a family. Maybe I was divorced once. Maybe I was divorced twice. Got kids from a couple marriages. But I'm going to cast my judgment on the young black guy who had 4 kids by 3 women, never got married. You know why no young men are getting married anymore?
Because it's
scary. Because we know that the family court and the marriage court
is
built to crucify you. And that's what happens when
you don't have to be young to know that. You can be my age.
My point is, but if you're older and you've already been married or you are married, you don't have the same proposition. Young men still have the choice of whether to get married or not. My point is, that's what happens when institutional decay takes hold.
Rot.
You start to get young men now who are actually afraid to you could say, fulfill what their Christian duty calls them to do by man-made impediments.
Well, now you got a civic marriage that's laid on top of a religious ceremony. That from the get-go, do you know civic marriage is actually a United Nations program?
Really?
That there was 2 United Nations, I don't know if they're calling bills, whatever they call them, planks, platforms, whatever. And every United Nation member registers their marriage and has a civic marriage because they're signatories to the treaty, except for Sudan, South Sudan, Iran, and Iraq and Togo. But everybody else in the United Nations is into this civil marriage thing, which is actually the predicate for the government regulating marriage and regulating the transmission of wealth and saying who is a good child and who's a bastard child. And the whole bastard child idea, that's awful. That creates an underclass that you can manage. It sets up the whole program.
Well, it's definitely the predicate. It was definitely the predicate for Roe v. Wade.
Right. And the United Nations is also the germ seed of the Darwinism that has dominated our whole world today, which fits right into technology because we're in that fourth industrial revolution. So even if we onshore our production, a factory that would have 5,000 people is only going to have 1,000 people. So we have a big challenge now. And I've said this to you, and I agree with you. I think it's our biggest challenge.
But let me
looking at this technology.
Yes. But let me go back to what because
women are the greatest beneficiary of this technology.
No
because
doubt.
it's the great equalizer.
No doubt. I mean, it's so obvious.
I hear it in my own house. You can't be that way because now we have technology.
I'm independent.
We're not on the farm. Your muscles don't mean anything. And Sophia, the word for wisdom, that's the Hebrew word for wisdom. That's female.
Right.
It goes right back to Genesis.
And they're gonna say, "Oh, Royce, you're just showing that you're a
misogynist.
You hate women." No, I love women. I would like for women to stop being used and lied to and stop accepting such a goofy narrative. But
the narrative suits them. Lie to yourself. There you go.
Self-deception.
It suits them,
right?
Because it puts them on
but
top.
How?
Everyone wants to rule the world.
How?
Everyone wants to rule it.
How
does it happen?
It's very obvious. Like I said, give me a room for full of Republican delegates. And this is what this tour is going to be about now. In 26, I'm not coming around the state to schmooze you, to rub you on your head, rub your back, tell you I'm a good candidate because of, my story. My story is going to resonate with the black folks down in CD5. We're not playing that game. I'm going to go into CD5 and tell them the same thing I'm going to tell the Maga Christians out there in rural America. You people have followed your women into a shooting gallery. Honestly. And I get it because I've been in love.
I still think I still think the link for the listeners is a little bit opaque in the sense that we have to understand what you're saying is that the post-World War II Democrat liberal order stands on different ideas, one of the most important of which is the idea of democracy. And democracy is everyone is free to pursue their own self-determination, which includes a woman's right to choose, which means women are the big beneficiaries of democracy.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
What I'm saying is you Republican boomer men delegates. You got to
draw this out.
You Republican boomer men delegates are following your women around like sad puppies. And it's okay. I mean, I get it. Trust me, I get it. I get it. I've been in love.
You've been there.
I understand.
You've been there. Come on,
understand.
just say been there.
I'm in love.
Right.
I'm in love now.
Great.
I'm a lover. We kind of, us folks born in April in the spring, when you're born in the spring and the flowers are starting to bloom, you got a tendency to, when you're a young baby, you get that all of that.
Oh, now we're getting really the smells and
you got that love is in the air, right?
That's hilarious, Royce.
It's a spring romance, it's like in The Lion King. It's it's in the air, right?
Okay.
There's always a Nala out there, but my point is, it's okay to be in love. It's okay to love your women. It's even okay in some regards to follow them around like a sad little puppy, except for when it comes to going to a nuclear war. Then we have to draw a hard line. And we, by the skin of our teeth, drew that line just now. By the skin of our teeth. We almost didn't. And for many men,
we're not there yet.
And for many men out there, we were not willing to draw that line. We were willing to fight.
I saw that. What
I'm saying is think about these Republican, and I say it's the boomer men because
it's kind of like what's his name, Destin Grady. He's got to ask his
Perfect
wife.
example. He's got to ask his wife if he can have a debate because it's going to ruin her. It's going to mess with her routine.
His schedule going to get
Her
disrupted.
routine. You can't take 2 hours out to have an important conversation about the future of the country.
Well, he can, but after he asked his wife for permission first. That's what he said. He asked for permission.
And I'm not even
very considerate of him.
And,
it was very considerate.
And I'm not even saying that you can't cross-reference and cross-check the weekly schedule with your life partner and your wife. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it becomes.
But you don't say it out loud. The point is.
Let me check my schedule.
No. Right. I'll get back. Don't share too much. That is a failure.
He's doing that for her.
Oh, that's a good point.
He was publicly cucking himself on the off chance that she would be paying close enough attention to.
Oh, that's awful.
But do you see the?
I do see it.
Because why would we care? We don't. Why would I care?
Just get back to us.
Just tell us what day you're going to be free, dude.
Right.
Tell me what
don't
time,
share
dude.
too much.
I don't need to
don't
know
talk
that your
too
wife.
Much.
Yeah.
Don't talk too much.
See, this is a mistake Russians and Chinese people don't make.
You know the Chinese? Oh, this is great. You know the Chinese.
The North Koreans don't make those kind of mistakes.
Because they don't talk too much.
Because it's even more Darwinist than that.
They're very careful with their words.
It's even more Darwinist than that. They don't care what their women are going to say about it.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking
but
about.
I am.
I'm taught what? Go ahead.
When it comes to war, the North Koreans, the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese, they're not going to cross-check with their wife whether or not it's time to go to war. When Vladimir Putin decided to go to war, I bet you he didn't go in with the missus and say, you know what?
I'm thinking about. I got a hard
decision.
We're going to invade.
We're going to invade today.
Is it okay with you?
What do you think? How's it fit into your routine? He sat her down and he probably said, you know what, Miss Putin?
You're going to the bunker.
Miss Putin?
Go to the bunker.
It's time to go. Plan Operation Red Dawn has begun, and here's where we're.
Go to the bunker.
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But my point,
her weekly nail schedule.
But this is another
isn't a factor.
This is another point about this whole republicanism concept.
Yeah.
We have to learn. You're talking about a cultural reengineering of sorts to get this thing to work. And I personally believe it's about teaching people what republicanism is really all about. Because I don't think people really get it. Because if we got it, we wouldn't be stretched out all over the world in the post-World War II Democrat liberal order. Someplace along the line, we took the shiny object, right? I think it was the washing machine, the iron, the car.
Not someplace across the
line,
a bunch of places
How
across
about the
line.
vaccines?
Yeah.
At
every turn, we took the shiny object.
We took it all, right? We gave it. But, the problem in a cultural reengineering is if you lose your free speech, there's no reengineering. The opportunity, what's so great about winning by this scant margin is we got 4 more years to work on it. Had we lost, you and I'd have been in trouble, young man. They've been coming to shut us down because that was their goal. That was their goal. But now we have 4 years to work on this. And my point is, one of the pieces of it is,
hey, maybe we were in trouble. You, my friend, my friend, are an anti-Semite.
Yes, I've heard that.
I heard
I was a Nazi just yesterday.
I heard Tom Emmer stand up there right before the entire Republican State Convention and vow his support for Israel and say that anybody who had any criticism whatsoever, in effect, anybody who had any criticism whatsoever for the state of Israel and its policies is persona non grata. Well, if you're persona non grata from the party, what makes you, immune to being persecuted by the law?
That would be nothing. But I can't really take Tom Emmer seriously. I know he's the
better.
Well, I just can't, and I'll tell you why.
Stupid as he is, he's powerful.
No, he lied to the people. He lied to the people about that debt ceiling bill, and he's got to wear that right into the ground.
What was the lie? Tell it.
The lie was in 2022, he shielded for Kevin McCarthy. He was the whip, and he said that they were going to raise the debt ceiling, but that bill contained the greatest cuts to government spending in American history.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that Republicans were going to support it, and it was all good. And what happened was the bill passed because the Democrats, the Republicans were 50-50, 50% of the caucus was against it. And the evidence that it was a lie is we got $3 trillion more debt since he stood up and said that. And see, that debt, I was talking to on a radio show about that debt. Now, look, you owe $109,000 on that debt. Your wife does. Your 4 people in your family owe
6.
6.
4 kids.
Okay, 4 kids, and okay, so 6 people. So that's 600,
$500,000.
Yeah, that's your in. Now talk about making people poor and unable to move around. That when you say at the beginning, when you're talking about Target,
The establishment is
wants-
trying to take your freedom of movement
and that's exactly how they're doing
and
it.
making you poor.
And not that many of us understand that, but I
You
can't
think
forget
they don't
that.
get it? I
Well,
think these people, you know what?
because the debt's just going along.
I
It's,
say this, I'm going to say it again. I think a lot of you men out there are content with your life being under the boot of a tyrannical government, as long as your wife will bat her eyelashes on at you and give you a little intimacy every now and again. And what a lowly, kind of
get on your knees.
debauched
Get on your knees.
way to die.
Get on your knees. I want to go back to this because I want to just delve into this for a second. Because, as an officer of the party, I've been rather, sometimes we had these conversations and I've become rather circumspect. I don't like to name names. I've said that before. You know what? I'm letting that go. And I'm going to tell you why. I watched the Republican Party not support you. Okay, I watched it. I was there. I'm an officer. I watched it. You're the endorsed candidate and you won the primary, and they were really not kind about it. Guy named Jim Nash here, he's in the House. I didn't hear him say it personally, but I had people come and tell me that he said that no Republican candidate should be in a photograph with you like you were some kind of vampire or ogre. Okay, this really was not cool. And I have in my own district, my own chair, Denise Kojit, I'm the deputy chair. We argued because we had this Senate candidate, Kathy Folk, that said, I will not support Donald Trump. I will not support Royce White. She wouldn't appear with you. But she went so far as to not support Trump. And you know what? They lost. They lost. Stop doing the same dumbass thing. So I'm just going to say this now. This has to stop. This doesn't work. We've been sliding to the left, and we listen to all these kind of unique party, neocon, boomer Republicans say, oh, we have to get the suburban women vote.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful what we say. It doesn't work. Okay, nobody's been able to work. Hey, maybe Liberace will show up and run for senator. Somebody that might be the right Republican, but they ran Joe Frazier, and he had he, him, and his pronouns in his LinkedIn. But my point is the radicalization that I feel, because I know what they're doing is not going to work.
Yeah.
And the thing that terrifies me, and you're saying the same thing about the people, the voters, within the party, the people that get elected reflect those voters. And I can see these people
Jim Nash. It's embarrassing.
They're not serious about really changing anything.
Right.
And that at this moment, and here's
they just call themselves conservatives.
But here's the great danger. Donald Trump has been radicalized. He wasn't a radical in 2016. He was playing at the margins himself.
Right.
But after the persecution that he suffered and the insight that he's gotten being torn apart, he is now a revolutionary. That's how I read him.
Except.
We're not sure. We don't know until.
Except for.
Science.
Except for science. That's right.
Okay.
And that is
so that would mean he's a kind of a glass bead game too.
What I'm saying is at the highest level, Donald Trump is the best chance that we have, but there's already a shoehorn in for the thing to continue on.
Taking the poison seeds with us into the new world. It's kind of like the new original sin. Here
would be the thing to do today. Artificial intelligence is,
gotta go.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. Robotics. Gotta go. Gotta go.
As a matter of fact, if there's a world war that should happen, if there's a world war that should take place, if there was an auspice under which I would hesitate, yet still, in the end, probably conclude logically necessary to have a world war, it'd be to stop the proliferation of artificial intelligence.
This is so interesting because people are going to hear
We
this.
should tell China. We should tell China we don't give a fuck about sovereignty. We don't give a shit about Atlantic charters or United Nations or security councils. If you try and proliferate AI, we're coming. Because it's going to be out of control, and we all know
it's already out of control.
We all know it.
It's already out of control.
And so, imagine how crazy you have to be And God bless Joe Rogan. I like him too, but he's another one of these, kind of, secular, and I like him. I'm not saying I don't like him, but there's a reason. There's a reason he hasn't had me on. I know the Weinsteins. I know, Hotep Jesus, Alex Jones probably messaged him personally. There's a reason he hasn't had me on because I'll go here. He knows it. I mean, there's a natural kind of magnetic push.
They believe in it
from the people,
but they really believe in it.
And he says often on his, it's inevitable for man to become sort of symbiotic with the machines, and we are, I mean, give me a fucking break. Are you kidding me? And look, don't get me wrong. Did he stand in the breach? Did he help us? Absolutely. But now we are to a code red situation.
This is the real issue
with artificial intelligence and technology, where we have to have a tough, unadulterated, unencumbered, unfriendly
political discussion about
the future of human civilization.
At least we won this day, so we can have the space to have the discussion.
But we won is almost 30 days ago now.
No, but
I don't give a fuck about they know at least we nothing. This was 30 days ago.
We got a chance.
We're already
got a
behind.
chance to talk.
We don't.
Got a chance
but my
to talk.
point is,
we're talking about it right now.
No. But the point
people are hearing you right
not
now.
About us talking. It's about do the people who actually get a chance to look. Okay, elephant in the room is Elon Musk. Okay, Elon, and I like you, and okay, we won the election because you bought X. Great. Now, if you're going to tell me that Elon Musk has wedged himself into the position of the richest man and most important tech person in the world to vanguard and safeguard human civilization from the dangers of AI?
That's kind of like having Jeffrey Dahmer be.
That's probably more far-fetched. That's a lot more far-fetched than believing it.
Jeffrey Dahmer is now the preschool teacher. I mean,
that's a lot more far-fetched than believing that Moses parted the Red Sea. Okay. About 1,000 times more far-fetched, I would say.
What?
But I'm a Jew, right?
With God, all things are possible. Who knows?
But my thing is,
there's possible. There's possible.
My point is this. I can tell by the cultural sentiment en masse that we acknowledge the dangers of artificial intelligence.
We can't wait to get there.
But nobody really wants to stop it.
I do.
I mean, en masse.
Well, we got to start somewhere.
En masse, nobody really wants to stop it. Tell me when the last time there was a Republican Party BPOU, there was a Republican Party convention, there was a Republican Party
that even came
picnic with hot dogs and beers, or there was a Republican Party rally. Why didn't Tom Emmer stand up there in St. Cloud and talk about the dangers of artificial intelligence?
Oh, because that's not what he's paid to do.
There you go. That would be right.
Right.
None of them did.
That's correct.
Not a single one. See, right. And there's a reason why they didn't want me to speak. See, let's ask, and here's the thing with the state chair thing. Kip Christensen, deputy chair of the Trump 2024 Minnesota
Trump
campaign.
Force 47.
Yeah. Okay. Simple questions. Where are you at on AI? I can
That'll
call
kind of change it up on them. They won't be expecting that question.
But I'm saying I can call the balls and strikes on all of these things. When we went to the convention for the state endorsement, it was where you at on the Ukraine war. Well, we won that one. Okay, that one came out positive, although 68-32 still worries me.
Should be 99-1, right?
Should have been 99-1.
Just Alex Plekish sitting there as the pro-Ukraine guy.
Right. So that word, but then Alex Plekish is a pro-Ukraine war, but then he stood up behind me when I won on stage
with the Royce
White for Senate.
I don't forget things like that.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
Sorry, Alex, but when you go to that level of BS, you're buying yourself a long time mirror. I'm your mirror, Alex, because I know who you are. So, if I were you, I'd find something else to do. That's how I feel about it. Because you can't lie like this. Republicanism is an anti-corruption philosophy. It's a human philosophy. It's a anti-corruption. What are they talking about? Not corruption.
Maybe in his mind he thought, I support the Ukraine war, and I don't necessarily support Royce, but Royce won the endorsement, so now I'm going to stand up there in the
Well, that's very kind of you.
In support of
Super.
of the Republican unity.
Right.
Right?
That's great. So how come he supported Ukraine Joe Frazier the rest of the time after he stepped off the stage? Didn't he support Ukraine Joe?
I don't know.
I do. Oh, I do.
See, I don't pay attention to these people.
Well, it's my district. It's my district.
Maybe that's why I'm no good at politics, because I just tell the truth and that's it.
That's the only politics we're going to do. Well,
but like I said, where has AI come up? I haven't even heard it come up. You can't even talk about it.
And robotics.
You can't even talk about it, though. You can't even mention it. If you mention it, there's so much gum dip, cultural wedge bullshit.
Every scientific
coming from Fox
invention
News
is a good invention. There's all about the benefits, nothing about the cost.
There's so much cultural wedge issues coming out of Fox News. And there's so many Republicans still listening to Sean Hannity. There's so many Republicans still listening to Mark Levin. There's so many Republicans still listening to, you pick somebody. There's so many Republicans still tied up in the thing. Even I was at the farm, we were at the farm deal, Farm Fest. And I walked up on a guy and he said, I'm a supporter of you, I don't want Amy Klobuchar. And, he was a farm guy. And the Ukraine-Russia, this was a funny moment. Somebody who worked at the Star Tribune just happened to be there. White woman, liberal middle-aged white woman, typical. And she had that same sort of pompous, kind of arrogant, aura about her. And she started asking me questions and immediately went to Russia and Ukraine, fascism and oligarchs and blah, blah, blah. And I just laid out the history. And she pulled a Dustin Gragey. It tells you exactly who Dustin Gragey is when he agrees on issues as important as the Russia-Ukraine war and potential nuclear holocaust, and he agrees with the liberals. That just tells you right away who he is. But anyway, she was talking, and this guy walks up, and, we're going back and forth about Russia and Ukraine, and this guy's all for it. He still thinks that the Russians are the biggest enemy and threat, and we got to maintain a presence to keep the Russians in check and blah, blah, blah. And my point in bringing it up again is just the Republican Party is the issue. That's the issue. But all these Republican candidates are afraid to lose in the Republican Party. They need the endorsement, so they can't talk straight up. They have this kind of two-part process where I gotta pander and cater to my constituents in the party to try and get an endorsement. If I can get an endorsement, then I can get the fundraising. If I get the fundraising, then hopefully I get to the general and then try and mellow my message out to an even broader, moderate, and independent. And that is exactly what Joe Frazier said that his strategy was. And even if that could work, and this is my real point. It
didn't work. It did not work.
But that's not the point. Even if it could work, let's say if it could.
And we just slide to the left.
Let's say if there was a guy. Let's, get me a young Marlon Brando. Okay?
Liberace.
Yeah, anybody, give me anybody. Give me, a young Val Kilmer, okay? Checks all the boxes, married, couple of kids, never had a parking ticket in his life.
Jag.
Never had a parking ticket in his life. Never been divorced, never seen a
What a beautiful family.
What a beautiful guy.
Fantastic.
He's the all-American guy.
Unbelievable.
Okay, let's say there was that guy.
An attorney, too, just to be sure.
Just for shits and giggles.
Right.
Got to credentialize him.
Right, and he was military, too.
He
Military.
had a liberal arts 4-year.
Harvard, went to Yale Law School.
Then he had a master's in law. Yeah.
And then he went right into the military.
Okay, let's say you had that guy.
What a guy.
What does it really mean to win if you can't really convince anybody that they need to change the way they think about the most important issues?
Well, that'd make you part of the status quo.
That would make you the highest level of the status quo.
Well, that's what we got going on.
That is exactly what we have.
That's still what's going on here. And what we're sitting here waiting is we want to see what Donald Trump, how does he show up? Because we don't know yet.
No, I'm not waiting on that.
I'm waiting to see what he does. I want to see what he delivers.
Okay.
But the one thing I do agree with you when it comes to Woody Johnson, he's not delivering.
Fuck Woody Johnson. Listen, I'm not worried about Woody. I'm not worried about what Trump's going to do. Trump's going to be Trump. Trump's good enough. He's going to do most of what he said he was going to do. He's going to try to.
But that's the line right there. He's going to try.
He's going to try.
And that's why what we do as American citizens, if we don't have his back, he ain't gonna make it.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about me. And I want the rest of these American-born cucks to talk about them. I'm not talking about what Donald Trump's. I'm not talking about what anybody's going to do. I'm talking about me. I'm going scorched earth now. We're not making a milder, more middle ground
We got to
consensus
tug
to the
on that rope
constituents.
as hard as we can.
We're going right down the middle. We're going right down the middle. AI is the biggest danger. We all know it. Where you at on AI? Before it was the Ukraine war. Before it was easy, the border. Now everybody knows you don't have a border, you don't have a country. Everybody knows you're $36 trillion in debt, you don't have a country.
Here comes the border. Here comes the answer to the debt.
AI is next. Which one of you people believe in it? That's the new litmus. That's the new dividing line. The rise and advancement of technology. And look, they're all gonna show you their colors in that. And we may have to take a loss again. The real question is, are we going to have to walk all the way into
the technocracy
in order for people to cry
out for freedom?
For freedom.
Yeah.
That's the question.
For humanity.
That is the ultimate decision we have to make. This was just a brief intermission.
You can't believe in Darwin, and you have to serve God or serve Mammon. That's really what it is. You got to pick a side of the football. That is actually what you're saying. That is what you're saying. I like that.
I'm not saying that.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Nah, yeah, you are.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not. I'm saying these secular humanists.
What is the benefit of AI? How would they say?
Wait a second.
Going to take care of all of our economic problems.
What I'm saying is the secular humanists could even have a secular world.
Well, that's republicanism.
Wait a second. I'm not saying that they couldn't have a secular world. I'm not saying
they can have it.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, when you have a secular humanism that always has the impulse or the propensity towards artificial intelligence, then it's obviously going to become destructive. And look, I'm not even saying, I'll go so far as to say this. I'm not saying that we couldn't actually do artificial intelligence at some point. What I'm saying is, if you're fucking stupid enough to map the psychopathy of the current human mind onto machines and think you're going to get anything other than psychopathy, that's a non-starter. We can't, the conversation must end there. So, I mean, we have a complete spiritual enlightenment and renaissance that needs to happen worldwide before we even think about moving into the, and again, and they make all the excuses. Oh, every couple of weeks I hear there's this asteroid that, in 796 days, this asteroid is going to come, within our orbit, and it may be just close enough to nick the Earth, and a nick of the Earth would cause cataclysm. Guys, the first line of defense for the planet is subterranean. It's not extraplanetary. The most feasible and logical first line of defense for planet events, planet-wide events, is subterranean. You build subterranean. You go into the core. You not into the core, but you go into the
underground,
the bedrock.
Yeah.
Okay. The Earth has survived a great deal of things before. It can survive a great deal of things in the future. Black hole. Okay. Now we're talking different. If we're saying that we have to pursue artificial intelligence to become interplanetary and intergalactic, interstellar, intergalactic, on the off chance that a black hole spontaneously
swallows the whole
emerges, and yeah, okay, I can even go there with you, Neil deGrasse. Okay, I feel you, Elon. That I get it. That
humanity must survive.
I get that.
That's kind of like climate change.
I get it.
That's just like climate. That's like climate change.
I get it.
That's a scam.
No. I mean, maybe it's not. I'm not saying that it's a scam. I'm not a space is a scam guy. Okay.
No, but I'm saying,
because I'm humble enough to know where I don't know.
The end is near has been going.
What I'm saying is this:
the end is near.
I'm humble enough to know where I don't know. I'm not an astrophysicist. I'm not a star scientist. Okay, there may be black holes. There might be asteroids. There obviously are asteroids. I mean, there's good evidence of that at least. There might be rays that come from the sun that are so powerful that they can change the magnetic rotation of the planet in one fell swoop, and the waves will just sweep across the surface of the earth, and the winds will be so intense that it just rips buildings and let alone people apart. I get it. It's possible. Subterranean. Okay. The first line of defense should be subterranean. So if you're going to tell me that we should proliferate AI from a sick human mind in order to safeguard against planetary extinct level events, I think you're a fucking asshole. My first instinct is to slap the fucking taste out of your mouth. Seriously. I mean, just don't, and that may be harsh. That may make me unelectable. I mean, I get it. But my first instinct is slap this dumb motherfucker, right? Wake up. You're losing it. Okay?
No, you lost it.
You lost it.
It's not, you're losing it.
No, you're still losing it, because at least the premise of your idea is that we should be trying to work together to preserve some common decency. That's still something to hang on to. But you've perverted it so twisted that I can't even wake up. Wake up, buddy. Okay? We're so far from being an interplanetary species, let alone interstellar, intergalactic. It's absolutely comical. We're going to have trouble getting out of our own atmosphere because we put so much junk and satellites in the atmosphere that there's a cloud cover of space junk that they never show you when NASA shows you a picture of the planet. Okay, it's just a beautiful picture of the Earth, and it's beautiful black empty void, but that's not how it really looks. How it really looks is like a
dirty alley,
a huge giant trash heap out there from our own doing. Another good example of when you proliferate technology without any wisdom. Nobody thought, who's going to go back up there and get this shit?
Who's cleaning up?
Dumb. So I don't have to be an astrophysicist to realize.
Sounds like a great business.
I don't
go back in it.
I don't have to be an astrophysicist to realize.
Son, go up there and pick up all the junk.
I don't have to be a scientist to realize that the women who are going to get plastic surgery on their face aren't turning out too well. You see? And I make that correlation to try and piece the two together. It's the same sickness, right? I mean, these women who want to turn back the clock and be 30.
You're saying that
I don't need to be
baubles of science don't solve the problem.
I don't need to be Bill Nye the science guy to realize you look like a 60-year-old lizard.
The existential problems of life.
You're not cute.
They're not easy to solve.
But wait a second. Let's just talk about it. You wake up every morning, you look in the mirror, and you're not cute. I'm sorry. That may not land. It may seem rude and mean, but it's the truth. And what the deeper, darker truth is, you're creating a very uncute, a very non-cute, ugly world. And it usually is these post-prime. I mean, look at all the post-prime women that we got to vote for Kamala Harris. She's a woman. I met a guy outside of the DFL. I met a guy outside of the DFL booth at the State Fair. He walked right up to me. I asked him, who's he voting for? He says, my wife handles all of that.
Are you kidding me?
I swear on my kids. I thought he was playing with me. I thought he knew who recognized me, and he was saying it just to fuck with me.
But I've heard that before, too.
Have you?
Yes.
I've heard Republicans say it.
No, really. I had a friend of mine, ex-friend, because he didn't stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And he was allegedly a hardcore Republican. And he married a woman, it was second marriage, third marriage, I don't know. And she was our ex-Republican. She left the Republican Party because of the growing Maga sentiment here in Minnesota. And I talked to him subsequently, and he had become a Democrat. And I said, how is that possible? But he converted. And this goes and follows up on your argument that there is some of this going around. And of course, the more this accelerates, greater is the penalty for he who maintains his independence.
Scary proposition. I'm sorry to talk. I came with a lot of built-up aggression today.
Yeah, I thought you were pretty mellow, actually. There's
I,
no screaming.
I just had to
You
get
had
some
a
shit out
very
today.
simple idea. We have a new core issue
AI.
for the next cycle. I agree with you. I think that's great. I agree with you 1,000%. I've been thinking about the same thing, that this entire thing is a diversion, just like Republican and Democrat is a diversion, just like black, white, red, purple, whatever is a diversion. The issue is as long as we're fighting, it continues to develop.
Convenience will be the death of freedom.
It'll be the death of humanity.
And there is nothing more convenient than having robots do everything for you.
It's so awful. I mean, why don't we just call it what it is? It's slavery.
Slave to the machines.
We become slaves of the machines.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Don't take yourself so seriously. You're looking at the benefit. You're not looking at the cost.
Right.
Not looking at the cost. I saw one on X today with some woman, beautiful woman walking. She had 3 Tesla robots behind her carrying all of her packages. Think of myself, lady, if you do that, you ain't going to look good like that very long. You're going to weigh 462 pounds. You're not going to get any exercise. You're not going to get any strength. No independence. And then the corruption. This is why republicanism is so important. Republicanism is anti-corruption. There is nothing more corrupt than rule and ruled. That's what Republican is about, to ameliorate that problem in humanity, that we have to self-govern. And machines is the give up of self-governance. You just call it convenience, but that's what it is. It's the end of republicanism.
Right.
Oh, boy. Got a lot of work to do. But I think people want to be free, don't you?
I don't know. I'm a little bit more cynical. I think people crave tyranny. I think people desperately in their conscious mind crave
They want to get off the hook for self-governance because it requires responsibility.
sacred honor,
right,
national honor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Faith.
Well, we got a germ seed of hope.
We do.
We do.
We do. Donald Trump gave us a foothold. Hence,
Here we go, HEBROES.
I got the red Royce White for Senate 2026 MAGA hat on, and we fully support Donald J. Trump and his triumph in his election and the warpath it would now seem he's on in the earliest days of this administration. I can't wait to get to January 6th. Oh, man, I think, is it January 6th happening this year?
20th.
January 20th?
6th was a red letter day in American history.
I think we should do the inauguration on January 6th. That'd be great. That'd be redemptive, wouldn't it?
Well, it depends what street corner you're on.
That's exactly right. And we should go. We should go to the inauguration. I want to go. I think I'm going to go to the inauguration out there in D.C. That'll be a fun time. I'll get to, you know what? I think we'll launch the campaign the day after the inauguration.
Well, congratulations.
I think we'll do that.
I think you're launching it right here, right now.
Well, I mean, full tilt.
Hey, we're coming.
Media,
Wait
all
a
the whole
second.
thing.
For
We're
all
going to launch
the
it
people
there.
that are listening, okay? There's a bunch of us now. When I say a bunch, that's 1, 2, okay? We are radical. We want a complete redefinition of the culture so that it's about humanity. Nothing less is going to suffice to stop this slide into tyranny. We're going to pull on that. When I say we, I am going to pull on this rope as hard as I can. And if you get in my way, you've been warned, because you're getting in the way of my children's lives, my children's freedom. So there's no more playing around.
Yeah.
When I watch this ungodly, illegitimate regime as a lame duck take us to the verge of nuclear war and $36 trillion in debt, thanks, Tom Emmer. Thanks for standing up for the American people. No, you got to go, buddy. You got to go. You got to retire. In fact, he's such a good salesman. If he wants to sell tires, he can come to work for TireGet.com. We give him a job. He's a fantastic salesman.
He is good.
He's fantastic.
He does. You know what? Game recognizes game. His game isn't my game. My game is just telling it like it is.
But his game's awesome.
Well,
for
I
Minnesota, it's good.
When I say game recognizes game, ex-hockey player, athlete, he's a competitor. You know, he's not shy to get up in front of a crowd. And there's a reason why when the Star Tribune asked him about me, he goes, hey, guy's articulate. They endorsed him for a reason, right? He recognized, but the bigger issue is all of these political games are really secondary for me.
To this issue.
The mandate for the America First and Maga movement is to always be looking at the threat over the horizon so that this stuff never happens again. And right now, the biggest threat is not a political existential threat of the West or America.
Scientific.
We have an existential threat for the entirety of human civilization. And right now, the MAGA movement is the first and maybe only line of defense.
And it's not even talking about it yet. So we got a lot of work to do.
We're not even talking
it's a
about it
great
yet.
way to
There
start
you go.
off on this path.
Another HEBROES edition. Myself, Professor Penn, Professor Penn's podcast. You can watch 7:30 p.m. Central Time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, on Real America's Voice for the Royce White Show. I'm going to be talking about this again. I'm just going to sound this alarm. AI needs to go. You know, we're going to get the debt under control, hopefully. The Fed
Border closes.
The Fed needs to go. The border's going to get closed.
Peace comes up.
The forever wars are going to start to subside, hopefully. And we got to get our elections secure. Those things can happen. The education system, we're going to dismantle, root out all of the Marxism and rebuild American civic. But all of it will be
for naught
if we let the technology rise and proliferate without great wisdom. It's been another episode of Please Call Me Crazy. We appreciate your listenership and viewership today and in the future. Godspeed.
Godspeed.
The fight
Thank you,
continues.
Royce. Good to
Thanks,
see you,
brother.
man. Thank you.
We got to do this again next Friday.
Oh, that'd be great.
We got to go. You know what we should do?
What?
You know what we should do?
What is it, boss?
I think it's
Go
time.
ahead.
I think it's time we do HEBROES, the channel, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, right after the Professor Penn podcast. That way, people can see what you're talking about on the podcast, and they can see how we spontaneously start to think about the same
Yeah, it's really
things.
weird how that works. Like I'm working on this stuff, and this happens all the time because we're both carefully following.
Or should we
the
do
zeitgeist.
HEBROES once a week?
Maybe once a week.
But not
a week.
Fridays, though.
We should start
Because I got to start bringing some
No,
more
but how
guests
about
on.
we start the White House on Sunday nights?
Sunday night White House is great.
We could do one HEBROES and one White House.
I like it.
Start two new. And listen, everybody, please. Now, this is it. You're stay till the end. We make this thing work on a wing and a prayer. We need your support. Royce doesn't ask for it because he's a transformative figure in our society. I'm going to ask you. It's Christmas time. You got to buy knickknacks for Christmas. Please go to the Free People store, freepeopleradio.com. Go to the store. Help us buy a T-shirt, buy a coffee mug. You got to buy tires. Go to TireGet. We are going to expand our programming, but we can only do it if we have the support of the people because it is, it's a proposition here. The benefit is you get the content, but there's a cost, and right now we're bearing it all by ourselves. So please throw in a little bit, like in Reservoir Dogs, Mr. Pink, throw in.
And I guarantee you, none of the big money wants to invest in the thing that I'm saying because all the big money is invested in convenience. They want to make the thing
making
more
you go to
convenient.
sleep and taking away your freedom. That's
They-
so you can be easily ruled
Yeah.
and just become inventory
Yeah.
in the British business model. We're going to beat this.
Yeah.
We're going to beat it.
We want things to be good for the American people. There's a needle that we have to thread. There's a fine line. There's a slippery slope between ingenuity, industrialization, convenience, and becoming a slave. And that's the real threat that we have to be conscious of. So stay tuned.
We'll see you next week.
Next
right?
week, we're
Oh,
going to
cool.
do another HEBROES.
All right.
I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Again, the fight continues. Godspeed. The people are coming.